Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that's always on time. And we are here today to talk about Chapter 30, Late.
And someone is very, very unhappy about that fact.
Unhappy is an understatement. But Robin, before we get to Kuro's simmering rage, we have to talk about the single most unhinged display of raw power we have seen from Luffy yet. We're not talking about a new punch or a clever use of his rubber. We're talking about him ripping the entire front of a pirate ship off with his bare hands.
It's a complete escalation of the scale we've been operating on. Up until this point, the strongest things we've seen have been a cannonball being deflected or a man being punched through a wall. This is an order of magnitude beyond that.
Exactly. The power creep is real and it's happening right in front of us. This is the kind of moment that makes you realize you can't miss a single week. If you feel the same and you want to be here for every breakdown of every piece of this story, make sure you've inherited that subscribe button for us.
A very good idea, because before we get to Luffy's impromptu home demolition, the chapter starts somewhere much quieter and, in some ways, much more terrifying.
For sure. It opens on the steps of Kaya's mansion, and Kuro is just sitting there. He's still in his Buther uniform, looking perfectly composed, but that single word balloon, just the one word, late, carries so much weight. The tension is immediate. You just know this is bad.
It's a masterclass in showing, not telling. We don't get a long monologue about his frustration. We get one word and then a panel of what he's thinking. And that thought is of Mary, the other servant, lying bloodied on the floor. The room around Mary is sliced up, diagonal cuts everywhere. He didn't just knock him out, Franky. He attacked him, likely with his claws, and left him for dead.
And the way he thinks about it is so chilling. It's not a memory filled with rage or passion. It's just a placid image, like he's recalling a chore he just completed. There's no emotion there. It's so cold. There's no big explosion, just this quiet, precise violence that happened off screen. That almost makes it worse. We're left to imagine the sounds of Mary's screams and the claws tearing through the room.
It's the difference between a berserker and an assassin. Kuro isn't lashing out. He is pruning. Mary discovered his identity, so he was a loose end that needed to be tied up. The fact that his crew is late is another imperfection in his grand plan, and for a man obsessed with perfection, that is the ultimate sin.
Exactly. He's sitting there and he just casually thinks to himself that if Jango and the others don't show up soon, he'll just kill them too. The thought is as casual as deciding what to have for breakfast. If they're not here in 5 minutes, I guess I'll murder my entire crew. It's sociopathic.
It reinforces that there's no loyalty here, really. We saw Buggy's crew fear him, but there was a sense of bombastic circus-like camaraderie. We saw Don Creek's crew follow him out of respect for his strength. Kuro's crew is different. He isn't a captain leading a crew. He's a puppet master who has grown tired of his puppets. He sees them as tools, and they're not performing to his specifications. They're faulty equipment.
You know, it really sets him apart from every other villain so far. Alvida was about vanity, Morgan was about abusing authority, Buggy was about treasure and fame, Kuro is about control. Meticulous, absolute, suffocating control. And the plan, 3 years of pretending to be a doting butler, was the ultimate exercise in that control. Now that control is slipping and the monster is coming out.
He stands up, and you can see the shift in his posture. He's no longer the slightly stooped butler Cloudahor. He's standing tall, radiating menace. He decides to handle it himself. He's done waiting, which is the absolute last thing our guys down on the slope need right now.
Speaking of the slope, the scene cuts there, and the mood could not be more different. It's like switching from a horror movie to a slapstick comedy.
Jango is standing over his defeated crew with his jaw on the floor, completely stunned that a bunch of kids did this.
And what are those kids doing? Arguing. Of course they are. They just won a massive battle against a whole pirate crew, and their first instinct is to bicker amongst themselves. Nami's yelling at Luffy for being reckless, Luffy's picking his nose, not listening, Usopp is trying to take all the credit, proclaiming himself Captain Usopp, and Zoro's just standing there, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. It's pure, unadulterated chaos. I love it.
It's such a perfect snapshot of the crew at this stage. They aren't a well-oiled machine. They're not the Black Cat crew moving on their captain's orders. They're just four incredibly strong, incredibly stubborn individuals who happen to be pointing in the same direction. For now. This dynamic, this chaotic energy is their greatest strength and their greatest weakness.
Yeah, they function in spite of each other, not because of each other at this point. It's like four stray cats fighting over the same fish, but then a dog shows up and they all team up for a second before they go back to hissing at each other.
An apt metaphor given the theme of the arc, but Jango doesn't see it as a strength. He sees disorder and he thinks he can exploit it. He's not about to let this stand.
Nope, he gets his crew up with a kick and starts his whole hypnotist routine, swinging that sharpened steel ring, his chakram, back and forth. 1, 2, Jango!
And this is where we see the true nature of his ability. It's far more interesting than just putting people to sleep. He tells his crew their wounds are healed. He tells them they're stronger than ever before. He is, in essence, commanding their bodies to ignore pain and exceed their limits. It's not just about putting people to sleep.
It's a full-on buff. This isn't just a trick or a simple suggestion. To prove it, one of his crew members, a guy who was unconscious on the ground seconds ago, just turns and punches the cliffside next to them, and a huge chunk of it shatters and falls away. That's real, tangible power. That's not just the guy who thinks he's strong. He is strong.
It's the placebo effect weaponized. If you believe with every fiber of your being that you are strong enough to break a cliff, you will be. Think about the implications of that, Franky. He can turn a mob of regular, worn-out pirates into a squad of enraged super soldiers with a few words. He can erase their fear, their fatigue, their pain.
That's a terrifyingly good ability for a pirate crew. You never run out of fighting power as long as your crew believes you. It's an infinite stamina cheat code. He sends them charging at Luffy and the others. Their eyes are blank, they're foaming at the mouth. But he made one tiny crucial mistake.
He forgot to account for the idiot.
He forgot to account for the rubber-brained captain standing right there in his line of sight. He got a perfect view of the ring. As Nami puts it, Luffy is just so feeble-minded that he got hypnotized right along with the pirates. The panel of his eyes going blank is one of my favorites so far. Just nothing in there. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Zoro's reaction is perfect. It's not even anger. It's just complete, utter disbelief. You can see him thinking, of all the stupid things you could possibly do, this is somehow the stupidest. It's a testament to Luffy's simple mind. He's so straightforward that he doesn't have the mental defenses or cynicism to resist something like that. If someone says, you are getting very strong, his brain just goes, okay.
But it's a double-edged sword for Jango, a huge one, because Luffy doesn't just get the your wounds are healed suggestion, he gets the whole package. You will become stronger and stronger, tear them apart. And Luffy's baseline strength is already monstrous, so what happens when you pour gasoline on that fire?
You get an inferno. He goes into a full-on berserker rage. His eyes go blank, he starts steaming, which we've seen before when he gets really mad, and he just unleashes a Gomu Gomu no Gatling on the entire Black Cat crew.
He doesn't even aim at our guys, thank God. He just turns on the biggest crowd of enemies and lets loose. The flurry of fists is a blur across the entire page. He knocks them all back in a single move. He did in one attack what the four of them had been struggling to do for the whole chapter.
It's a moment that recontextualizes Luffy's power. We knew he was strong, but this is different. This is him with all the limiters off. No hesitation, no holding back, just pure, unthinking, destructive force.
That's what's so scary about Luffy. You can't predict how he's going to react. Jango thought he was powering up his own guys, but he accidentally flipped the switch on the biggest threat on the battlefield. A hypnotized Luffy is a force of nature. Jango literally created his own worst nightmare.
And he's not done. He storms right past the pirates he just knocked down. He isn't even looking at them anymore. They're no longer a factor in his hypnotized brain. He has moved on to a bigger target.
Nope, he's looking at their ship. He runs straight up to it, leaps into the air, grabs the giant, snarling cat figurehead on the bow, and just rips it clean off. The sound effects must have been insane. The wood is splintering, the whole ship is shaking. This is not just decoration.
He tears the entire stem post from the vessel. For anyone unfamiliar with shipbuilding, that's the structural core of the ship's bow. It's the forwardmost timber, the spine of the front of the ship to which the hull planks are joined. Ripping it off is like tearing the jaw off a living creature. You are structurally compromising the entire vessel.
Oh, coming from a future shipwright's perspective, this is sacrilege, but as a fan of super moments, this is top tier. He holds it up like a club, this massive carved piece of wood that must weigh tons. He's about to wipe out the entire crew with a piece of their own ship. Bro, this is one of the rawest things we have seen anyone do in this series. Forget punching through walls. The sheer unadulterated power to just dismantle a ship with your bare hands. This is why you don't mess with Monkey D. Luffy.
Jango realizes this immediately. The panels shift focus to his face and you can see the pure terror. His sunglasses can't hide it. The sweat is pouring. He sees Luffy turn, figurehead in hand, a mindless golem of destruction that he himself created. He knows he has made a catastrophic mistake.
It's the ultimate I've made a huge mistake moment. So he does the only thing he can think to do. He pulls out his ring again, swings it really fast right in front of Luffy's face and yells, "When I say 1-2 Jango, you will fall into a deep sleep." And because Luffy is still hypnotized and susceptible to any command, it works.
He just goes completely limp. The steam stops, the rage vanishes, and he just goes to sleep. Mid-air, while holding a multi-ton piece of a ship over his head.
And where does it fall? He drops it right on his own head. The thunk is so loud, and it's so big and heavy that it bounces off him and crashes down on top of the rest of the pirate crew, knocking them all out for good. It creates a crater in the slope. It even barely misses Jango.
It's the perfect comedic ending to a moment of terrifying power. Luffy is so overwhelmingly strong that he defeats the enemy and himself in the same move. It's an absurdly elegant solution to the problem Jango created.
It's beautiful. It's peak One Piece. It's the whiplash that makes this series so special. You go from awe-inspiring power to Looney Tunes slapstick in the span of 2 pages. Of course, Usopp and Nami start celebrating, thinking they've won, and Zoro has to be the one to check on Luffy. He confirms he's not dead, just, trapped under the front of a boat. No big deal.
Jango, meanwhile, is scrambling. He's trying to rally his few remaining conscious crew members. He reminds them that if they fail here, they'll have to face Kuro's wrath. And that tells you everything. The fear of their own captain is still a greater motivator than the fear of the rubber monster who just tore their ship apart.
Which says a whole lot about Kuro. But just as he says that, 2 new voices call out from the ship. They're standing on the damaged bow, looking down. They're wondering what happened to the stern, and Jango knows who they are.
He identifies them as the Nyamban brothers.
The Nyamban brothers. I love it. The name is so good. We're not done yet. The grunts are down, but now the specialists are coming out. The ship's guardians, the elite fighters. This is classic shonen progression, and I am here for it.
And one of them is apparently named Buchi. He looks like the bigger, stronger one, while the other is thin and stealthy looking. And the name Nyanban obviously connects to cats. Nyan is the onomatopoeia for a cat's meow in Japanese. It seems Kuro has elite members of his crew who follow his theme. It suggests the level of organization beyond just a random mob.
So there are 2 more fighters, and they were on the ship the whole time. This fight just got a whole lot more interesting, especially with Luffy taking a nap under a giant wooden cat.
And that's where the tension ratchets up again, because we cut away from the coast. We're back in the village. The camera pulls back, showing us the quiet streets.
And we see Kuro. He's walking with purpose, his butler suit pristine, heading toward the north coast. He's coming. The final boss is walking to the battlefield.
But he's not unnoticed. Tamanegi, the kid with the onion-shaped head from the Usopp pirates, spots him from a window. He's confused, wondering why Clahodor, the butler, is just walking through town so early in the morning. He calls out to him, but Kuro doesn't even flinch. He just keeps walking.
He has no idea he's looking at the monster himself. And Robin, you pointed this out, but what is that he's carrying? It's not something we've seen him with before. It looks like a long, thin case of some kind, wrapped in cloth.
It is. He didn't have it at the mansion when he was sitting on the steps. He must have retrieved it from his room before he left. Cloudor, the butler, wouldn't need it, but Captain Kuro, the pirate known as Kuro of 100 Plans, certainly would. It's his weapon.
Man, the dread, it's so good. The timer has officially run out. While Zoro, Nami, and Usopp are dealing with these new cat brothers, the final boss is walking onto the stage. What a chapter! It does everything. It gives us comedy, insane action, raises the stakes, introduces new threats, and ends on a note of pure, creeping horror.
It really sets everything up for the finale of this arc. Every single piece is now in motion. The pawns have been cleared from the board and the more powerful pieces are about to clash.
Before we get to what happens next, we have to mention Oda's author comment for the week. Apparently, he woke up at the same time he went to sleep. He slept for over 24 hours straight.
That's impressive and also a little concerning. It speaks to a level of exhaustion that is hard to comprehend.
For real. He says the manuscripts for the week are probably going to be hell. It's just a wild little peek behind the curtain of what it takes to be a weekly mangaka. The guy works so hard, he literally forgets a whole day. It just makes you appreciate the work he puts into every single chapter, every panel, even more.
Absolutely. The dedication is clear in the quality of the story. You don't get moments like Luffy tearing a ship apart without that level of commitment.
Okay, so the stage is set. Luffy's down for the count, the Nyabin brothers have appeared, and Captain Kuro is on his way carrying something dangerous. So many moving pieces here. Let us know in the comments what you think is in that case Kuro is carrying. We love reading your theories.
Now for predictions. What do you think we're going to see in Chapter 31?
All right, prediction 1 for me. The Nyabin brothers are a tag team, and this is going to be Zoro's fight. Usopp and Nami will be busy trying to wake Luffy up or just staying out of the way. It's going to be a 2-on-1, and they're going to have some kind of acrobatic, claw-based fighting style that pushes Zoro's 3-sword style to the limit. They seem like speed and agility types, which is a good matchup to test Zoro's power and technique.
That feels right. A dedicated fight for Zoro to show what he's capable of. My first prediction centers on Kuro. Tamanagi will successfully run and warn Usopp about what he saw. He'll come sprinting down the slope, yelling that Klahadore is coming, but it will be too late. Kuro is methodical and fast. He will arrive on the slope just as the fight with the Nyabin brothers is concluding, creating a moment of despair. The victory will be incredibly short-lived.
I like that. The hope spot followed by the immediate arrival of the real threat. Classic storytelling. Okay, my second prediction, Luffy stays asleep for at least half of the next chapter. Oda just gave him this massive, chapter-defining moment of power. Now he's going to sideline him to build tension. Waking him up won't be as simple as shaking him. They're going to have to lift that massive figurehead off him first. It's going to force Zoro and Usopp to step up and protect everyone without their powerhouse captain.
A logical progression. For my second prediction, I want to focus on that case. I believe the case Kuro is carrying contains his signature weapon, the cat claws, those long blades attached to his hands. We've seen them in flashbacks. This act of carrying them out in the open through the town he has deceived for 3 years is symbolic. He is shedding the Klahadore persona for good and re-embracing his identity as Captain Kuro in front of everyone. It's his declaration that the plan is in its final stage.
Oh, absolutely. That has to be what's in there. The grand reveal of his true weapons. He's not Klahadore anymore. He's back. Okay, my final prediction, and this one is about the villains. We're going to see a clash between Kuro and Jango. Kuro is going to arrive, see the state of his crew, see Luffy asleep under the figurehead, and he's going to be absolutely furious with Jango's incompetence. Before he even fights the Straw Hats, he's going to attack Jango for failing him and messing up his perfect silent plan.
A classic villain infighting moment. It establishes his ruthlessness even further by showing he's just as dangerous to his allies as he is to his enemies. My final prediction is an extension of that. I think Jango, in a moment of pure desperation when Kuro arrives and starts getting angry, will try to hypnotize his own captain. He'll try to calm him down or make him forget the failure, and it will fail spectacularly. Kuro's will be so strong, his mind so disciplined and controlled, that he'll be completely immune, and that will be the final straw that makes him attack Jango. It will be the ultimate showcase of Kuro's terrifying mental fortitude, in direct contrast to Luffy's simple-minded vulnerability.